We're going to talk briefly about cash, how it can work harder for you, and how to plan so that it does. Because by itself, cash is cash. It just sits there and does nothing unless you do something with it. So let's get started. We're going to have a little bit of fun and get some interesting perspectives on things. So I believe firmly that we're all very smart, either through school, either through family, through work, through experiences. I believe we're all very smart. I also believe that we work hard, and in many cases, we work too hard. And yes, that's a little bit of a slanted opinion, but that's just comes from my 32 years in corporate America in IT, where there was no such thing as a 40-hour week. For me, it was 60, 70, 80 hours a week and a lot of travel. So those are my experiences. Now, if we go a little further, most people who are employees join what is called the 40/40 Club. And the fact that you're joining it is not a voluntary choice. The 40/40 Club says you work 40 hours a week for 40 years, building somebody else's dream, and then you're told it's time to retire. What happens if you don't want to retire because you want to work longer? What happens if you retire because you're forced to and you don't have the finances to? That's the 40/40 Club that most people go into, and it's not a good place to be. Now, the reason a lot of that happens is by design. People are never taught basic financial concepts. Only 8% of schools teach this. So if you're not learning it in school, and you're not learning it in work, and you're not learning it in life, how do you know what else is out there? How do you know what your choices are? How do you know how to make your cash work better for you instead of you working so hard? This is the challenge that most people have. And unless somebody educates you, even on the basics, you're not going to know what to do and what options you have. And that's the whole point behind this whole presentation. Now, because we don't know what those basic financial concepts are, and we were never taught how to plan, goes back to what I said before. We work too hard, we pay our bills, don't have much left, repeat the process. We work too hard, we pay our bills, there's not much left. Any dreams you may have quickly go away because there is not that financial piece, that financial excess every month, every quarter for you to achieve those dreams. How do you get the vacation? How do you get your house? How do you get the car? How do you plan for college? How do you plan for retirement? If you don't know what's out there, you don't have a vision, you don't have a plan. Again, it goes back to, can your cash work harder for you? And the answer is yes, it can. Now, let me tell you a true story about why this is so important to me. 20 years ago, my parents were in their 60s, and they were both healthy and working and everything that was good. And I said to them, I know you have money put away. I don't know how much. I don't care how much. But what I am saying to you is, take the money out now, pay the taxes, and put the money into my name. I will sign whatever you want that I cannot touch that money. Because again, it's yours and you deserve to use it. And they said to me, no. 10 years later, When they're in their mid 70s, we had that same conversation. And again, the answer was no. Well, a few years later, my parents turned 82, and my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Over the next 6 years, he went from a vibrant young man, yes, at 82, but he was a vibrant young man. He went from being that to confined to a wheelchair, to confined to a bed, to passing away at 88. Now, the challenge, it's bad enough for the family, emotionally, physically, but financially, my parents used up almost their entire life savings to give him 24/7 care because he was home. Now, when he passes away, that little bit that was left was for my mother for the 5 years until she passed away. But because she didn't have enough money, every month was a decision. Do I pay the rent? Do I pay utilities? Do I buy food? Not a good way to live your golden years after working hard all your life. This is why I'm so adamant about cash can work harder for you, and planning the right way, it will help you to live your life the way you want to and deserve. That's why I believe what I believe. Now, the question is, who should be planning now? The answer is individuals, families, and businesses. Everybody needs to plan now so that down the road, when you need it, you have the money. That's the idea again behind this. Now, when you come into this world, as we all do, the same way, but the same way we come into the world, we're all going to leave the world. Nobody leaves this world any differently. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's a fact. The challenge becomes, though, nobody knows when you're going to leave this world. So understanding that, you have two choices. How you want to be remembered. Do you want to be remembered because you left your family with a mortgage, with credit card debt, with car loans, with student loans, or any other liabilities? Are you going to be remembered for the person who left your family in debt, and because they couldn't pay the bills, the house is taken away, the car's taken away, etc.? How do they live the same lifestyle that you worked so hard to build for yourself and for them? But this is what happens to most people because they never use the cash to work hard for them. So when they need it or the family needs it, it's not there. The other choice is to leave a legacy. If you do it correctly and cash does work for you, you can not only pay off all those bills and liabilities we just talked about, but you can also leave money for them to live in the house, to pay the car payment, to pay the credit card bills, to pay for college. You can be remembered as the great person that helped emotionally. I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. But from a financial perspective, be the person they remember for the good things, not for the bad. That's where you want to be. First of all, this is my contact information.
Thank
But
you.
the only thing I can tell you and anyone else watching this,
Mhm.
any conversation we have is completely confidential,
Mhm.
and any conversation we have is completely complimentary. Whether it's one, five, or even 10 conversations, it's completely complimentary. I do not charge for my services. You won't have to pay anything out of pocket for us sitting down and talking.